Hello and welcome to this Foster Care Institute online training webinar, Normalcy and Youth in Foster Care. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute. I'm an author of several foster care books, an international speaker and trainer, and I have been a foster parent myself to over 60 plus children who have come through my home and been a part of my family. Indeed, over the years, as a foster and adoptive parent, my wife and I have strived very hard to make the experience for the children and youth placed in our home as normal as possible. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Youth in foster care need to have normalcy in their lives. Our goal during this Foster Care Institute training webinar is to increase awareness of what normalcy is for those who care for and work with youth in foster care, and how it impacts our lives. Another key goal, a key objective. Let's look at what one youth in foster care said about normalcy. He said this: to be normal means to have access to things that adolescents who aren't in the system do, such as sleepovers, dates, and even a chance to earn an allowance. And this was from Vincent, former foster youth who aged out of the system. Now, there are many barriers to normalcy, to living a normal type of lifestyle. Like Vincent said, going on dates and doing other things. And there's many barriers to that. For example, for many years now, child welfare agencies have feared that youth in foster care might be hurt physically, emotionally, spiritually, if you will, doing certain quote unquote normal activities. These agencies have been very concerned in allowing foster parents and caseworkers and staff members and supervisors. They've been afraid to allow those who care for youth in foster care to do normal type of activities in regard to the belief that these youth would be hurt in doing so. In addition, agency and foster parents could very well be held liable for any time a youth was injured doing a normal activity. And this was a very grave concern for agencies for many years. Another barrier to this type of normalcy is that staff and caretakers often do not give the freedom or the authority to foster parents, to caseworkers, to residential homes, to therapeutical homes. They don't give the authority for them, for the caseworkers, for the supervisors, for those who care for youth. They don't give them the authority to make those day-to-day decisions when it comes to normal type of activities for youth who are in foster care. Other times, the authority is given when it comes to making those day-to-day decisions, but that authority, that freedom to make those decisions, that freedom to grant normalcy, normal activities youth, it's limited. Or that authority is very vague. It's unclear. And because it is vague or unclear, agencies and foster parents and those, again, who work with youth in foster care, they don't know how to allow youth to make the decisions in regards to normalcy because it's vague, it's unclear, and they're afraid to do so. Still others, caseworkers, foster parents, agencies, residential homes, they felt they had no support in allowing the youth to make those decision making or the support in themselves making those decisions when it comes to activities. So with all that in mind, what does normalcy mean? We hear a lot about normalcy in the foster care system, the foster care cycle, if you will, foster care circle. We hear a lot about this term normalcy. What does it mean? Well, according to Section 26 TAC, number 749.2601, normalcy is this, quote, the ability of a child in care to live as normal a life as possible, including engaging in childhood activities that are suitable for children of the same age, level of maturity, and developmental level as determined by a reasonable and prudent parent standard, and having normal interaction and experiences within a foster family and participating in foster family activities. But let's look again at that first part of the sentence, the very beginning. Normalcy is quite simply this: the ability of a child in care to live as normal a life as possible. So normalcy is this. Normalcy is, quote, means allowing youth in out-of-home care to experience childhood and adolescence in ways similar to their peers who are not in foster care. For young people in foster care, normalcy can be defined in various ways. And let's look at some of those ways that normalcy can be defined as. Normalcy can be defined as this: being part of a caring and supporting family. Every child, every youth wants this. They want that normal type of traditional family they see on TV, they read about, they hear about at school, they've seen from some of their peers. They want to be part of that caring and supportive family. For many youth in foster care, that's normal. They want to be part of that. Normalcy is developing and cultivating friendships with people their age, peers, if you will, and having relationships with supportive adults. When you, as a caretaker and as a staff member, form a healthy relationship with the youth that you're working with, it's important to note that it is a relationship that is a productive one, a relationship that is a healthy one and a positive one. That is part of normalcy for these youth. They're having a positive, healthy relationship with an adult. Normalcy is being a person, not a label. Note that when I'm referring to youth in foster care, I'm referring it to that way. I'm not saying it's a foster kid or a foster child or a foster teen. That's a label. No one wants to be labeled like that, particularly youth in foster care. They do not want that label of a foster kid. Many times that label is placed upon them when they're at school. Maybe placed upon them by their peers, or even maybe perhaps teachers. It may be placed upon them, perhaps from other staff members that you work with. That's not what normalcy is. They don't want to be a label. They want to be a person. They want to be an individual. Normalcy is engaging in extracurricular activities, everyday activities, including sports, clubs, maybe marching band, maybe Beta Club or Future Farmers of America, the FFA, maybe the FCCLA or other sports organizations. Again, sports, wrestling, football, basketball, softball, volleyball, whatever it might be. These other activities include getting a driver's license, going on school trips. These are things that they can do after school. Normalcy is having the authority to make their own decisions. Many times youth in foster care simply are prevented, they feel, from making any decision whatsoever. It's important to remember that when youth are placed in foster care, they are removed from their mother and their father, removed sometimes from their siblings, their house, their parents, their family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles, their previous school, everything they know, and placed into a foster care environment, the home you're working at, and that is against their own decision. They did not have that decision making. They have no control over their life in that regard. They have no control being removed from their family. They have no control of being removed from their home. They have no control sometimes of being removed from their previous school. They have no control being placed into the residential home. But they want normalcy. They want to be able to make their own decisions, to try new things. And sometimes normalcy means making mistakes on their own. We thank the Annie E. Casey Foundation for these definitions of normalcy. Let's look at what another youth in foster care said about normalcy. Quote, "When I was in foster care, foster kids couldn't get a driver's license. My foster parents believed I should have normal experiences. I went to prom and dated, but I still couldn't spend the night at my friend's home." Unquote. This is from Connie, who has aged out of the foster care system and is now a former foster youth. What does normalcy mean? Well, let's look at what the Juvenile Law Center said about it. Quote, "While there is no single normal childhood experience, normalcy refers to age and developmentally appropriate activities and experiences that allow children and youth to grow." Continuing on with this quote, "Such activities, whether it's participation in sports teams, sleepovers, or extracurriculars like dance class, help to provide opportunities for youth to take on additional responsibilities and freedoms as a youth approaches adulthood." Again, thank you for the Juvenile Law Center for this definition of normalcy. I want to point out one word in that quote. That word is freedoms. For many youth in foster care, normalcy to them means the freedom to make decisions, the freedom to have that driver's license, the freedom to go on a school dance, the freedom to have a date, the freedom to have a job, the freedom of living a normal lifestyle. Let's quickly review. When a youth is taken from their family suddenly, sometimes without any explanation whatsoever, and they're removed from their family, removed from their home, their moms, their dads, sometimes their siblings, their toys, their pets, their kitchens, their bedrooms, their home, sometimes their school, everything that's familiar to them, and placed in a place that is not familiar, an environment that they have no control over. Many times this is a time of uncertainty. It's a time of guilt. They might think it's their fault. And sometimes it's so overwhelming to them, they're unable to express themselves. We've discussed this here at the Foster Care Institute. This is not normal. These experiences are far from normal for a traditional teen growing up in a traditional home environment, in a traditional family, if you will. No teen wants to experience this. Many times this leads to traumatic stress. Traumatic stress. The National Children's Traumatic Stress Network defines traumatic stress as, quote, "the physical and emotional responses of a child to events that threaten the life or physical integrity of the child or someone critically important to the child." And we thank again the National Children's Traumatic Stress Network for this definition. This type of traumatic stress is not normal in youth and children. Yet for many youth in foster care, this is the reality. Now, we've said this here so many times at the Foster Care Institute. Youth who suffer from trauma are doing the very best they can. The youth that you're working with, those youth who are angry, those youth who are withdrawn, those youth who will not talk with you, those youth who refuse to follow the expectations and the guidelines of the home, those youth who you struggle with, they're not leading a normal lifestyle. They're struggling and they're doing the very best they can. Sam, who was in foster care himself, said this about normalcy. Quote, "Normal to me is feeling like part of my new family. I never want to be treated differently than other people in my home. At the same time, I want to express myself my way. Unquote. Again, this is from Sam, who was in foster care. It's so important that staff and caretakers and those who work with youth in foster care look for ways to provide opportunities, at the same time encourage the youth that you're working with to participate in a variety of indoor and outdoor activities, recreational activities, that you will, that are appropriate for the teen's age and ability. This is part of normalcy. As a staff member, as one who works with youth in foster care on a day-to-day basis, it's important for you to look for ways to provide, again, opportunities for the youth you work with to participate, to take part in extracurricular activities, indoor, outdoor, basketball outside, cards inside, going on walks, playing frisbee, having a job, whatever it might be. This is part of normalcy. So what happens when normalcy does not happen for youth in foster care? What happens? Well, youth in foster care it is critical for them to live as normal a life as possible. Why is it critical? Well, when a youth does live a life of normalcy, it helps them to develop in a healthy social and emotional fashion. When youth do not experience normalcy, many times they fail to develop the skills that they might need in order to live a healthy adult lifestyle. Healthy relationships are at risk because they do not know how to form that type of healthy relationship. It might be difficult for them to find a job, or if they find a job, to maintain a job. Because again, when they've not lived a life of normalcy, they've not developed those skills, those living skills, those social skills, those work skills. That's why normalcy is important. But what else happens if they don't live a life of normalcy? Well, those youth that you work with, the youth in the home who do not experience normalcy, well, quite frankly, they also run the risk of not developing good decision making. Now, it's very likely that you have worked with youth in the home, youth in foster care, who do not have good decision making skills. This might be as a result because they did not have the opportunity to do so. Those youth who do not have the opportunity to live a normal type of lifestyle, as normal as possible, well, they run the risk of poor decision making. That poor decision making could lead to homelessness. It could lead to unemployment. It could lead to a life of drugs. It could lead even to incarceration. Quite simply, when youth that you work with, when youth in the foster care system are not given the opportunity to live as normal a lifestyle as possible, normalcy, well, they are unprepared for life as an adult. Let me say that again. When youth in foster care are not given the chance to live a normal type of lifestyle, they're not ready for life as an adult. As caretakers of youth in foster care, we are doing them a tremendous disservice if we do not include normalcy in their lives. If we prevent them from having a normal type of lifestyle, we are putting them at risk. Now, without a shadow of a doubt, being in foster care is not a normal type of lifestyle. But it's important for us as caretakers to try to ensure that they have as much normalcy as we can possibly give them, as we can possibly allow. Part of normalcy is prudent parenting. Now, you might not be the parent of a child, yet when you're working with youth in foster care, you might take the part of a parental figure. And it's important when you're working with youth in foster care to practice positive parenting skills, prudent parenting. Part of prudent parenting, youth in foster care, is allowing them to have a normal type of lifestyle. And when you're doing that, there are a number of questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to providing normal experiences for these youth. These are some questions that you should ask yourself. These are some questions that should be asked when allowing a youth in the home to have normalcy. Is this activity, dance, football, working, dating, car license, is this activity reasonable and age appropriate? Are there any foreseeable dangers or risks or hazards to this normal activity, if you will? How does this normal activity promote social development in the youth? How does this activity normalize the experience of foster care? Will this activity, this football game, this basketball, this wrestling match, this dance lesson, going to the movies, whatever it might be, will this activity violate a court order, juvenile justice order, a safety plan the youth might have, a case plan, or any type of treatment plan or person-centered plan, also known as a PCP? Other prudent parenting questions to ask when allowing youth the opportunity for a normal type of activity includes this. Will this activity violate any policy or agreement of my licensing agent or the teen's custodial agency? If this activity is appropriate, have I received consultation from my supervisor or my administrator? If able and appropriate, have I talked to or consulted with the teen's birth parents about how they might feel or what they think about their child participating in this particular activity? And notice the first lines there, if able and appropriate. Will the timing of this activity, this opportunity, interfere with a sibling or parental visitation or a counseling appointment or a doctor's appointment? And sometimes that might be the case. These are questions that must be asked. Who will be attending this activity? Who will be there? Who will be at the football game, the dance lesson, the date? Who's going to be there? If you have your own children, you might ask this question: would I allow my own child to participate in this activity? An important question to ask is this: when allowing a child or considering the child to have a normal opportunity, how well do I know this teen? Think about that. How well do I know this teen? Because if you know the teen well, then you hopefully will know how the teen might relate to the opportunity or the experience. Is it going to be a healthy one for him or not? Will this be one that might trigger some anxiety or not? Is this related to his trauma in any way or not? Other questions to ask: is there anything from the teen's history, such as running away or maybe even truancy, that might indicate he could be triggered? His anxiety level could be risen by this activity. Does the teen that I'm working with have any concerns, questions, worries, fears about taking part in this activity? When it comes to this activity, this opportunity for normalcy, has a teen shown maturity in decision making that is appropriate for his age level and for his ability? And a few more questions here when it comes to deciding if the youth should partake or take part in a normal type of activity. Does the teen understand the expectations of him from the home, from the caretakers, from the staff and supervisors? Does he understand the expectations regarding the curfew, the approval for last minute changes to the plan, and any consequences that might come about if he does not comply with these expectations? A very important one. Does the teen know who to call in case of emergency? When he's out on that date, if he is at a basketball game, if he's at dance lessons, if he's at guitar lessons, whatever it might be, he's having that opportunity for normalcy and an emergency should arise. Does he know who to call? Does he know who to contact? Does this teen understand his own medical needs and concerns? If so, can he tell others about it if he's in trouble, if necessary? Finally, can this teen protect himself? We thank the Florida's Caregiver Guide to Normalcy for these prudent parenting questions. Important questions that should be asked and should be considered when considering normal opportunities for youth in foster care. Let's look at what another youth in foster care said about normalcy. Quote, from first sleepover to first date, every child and young person in foster care should have the same opportunities as those not in care. End quote. And that's from Esther, who herself was in foster care. Now, we all know that every one of us is different. Every one of us is unique. Every one of us is special. When it comes to normalcy, normalcy must be different. And I emphasize the word must be different for each person. Normalcy must be individualized for the teen. What might be a normal type of opportunity and experience, an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for learning, an opportunity to build social skills and working skills and living skills, what might be a great opportunity for one teen might not be a good opportunity for another teen. So it must be individualized for each one. And along with that, as one who works with youth in foster care, you need to take into account their own needs, their own challenges, what they hope and dream of in life. And finally, you need to take in their own anxieties. It's important for you to keep in mind, might this normal type of opportunity trigger any anxiety in this youth? So, what might be some examples of normalcy? Well, here are some examples. Having an impromptu visit at a friend's house. Now, it's very likely that the youth you're working with, the youth place in the home, they might have friends outside of the home. They might have friends outside of where they are currently living and residing. They may have friends outside of the place you work at. Sometimes having a visit at their house might be an opportunity for normalcy. Now, again, remember those questions. Is this going to be safe? All those questions. You need to consider all those questions. Will this be a safe opportunity for them? Do they know how to call, et cetera, et cetera? Normalcy might be playing a pickup basketball game in the parking lot. Normalcy might be going on an out-of-state trip to a camp. There's some wonderful, outstanding camps, summer camps for youth in foster care throughout the nation. And maybe going on an out-of-state trip to a camp might be an opportunity for normalcy. Or maybe a high school dance might be an opportunity for normalcy. Sleepovers might be a normal opportunity. Attending a concert. Every teenager wants to attend some type of concert, whether it's rock or rap or country or jazz. Attending a concert is a normal type of activity that youth in foster care might be desperately seeking. The youth that you're working with might really want to go see that concert next week. Listening to music online. Oh my goodness, youth love to listen to music online. It's a normal activity. Going shopping. It's a part of normalcy. And going shopping can be very important for youth in foster care. It teaches them many skills. Money skills, social skills, living skills. The next time that your agency, your home, goes shopping for groceries at the grocery store, perhaps you should bring along some of the youth in the home to help them shop. They can help you and the home shop. Allow them to pick out some of their own foods. Help them N- Learn how to budget. Going shopping is a wonderful, normal activity for youth in foster care. Visiting the state park, attending church or other faith-based events, taking art, dance, music lessons. There is so much therapy in art. There is so much therapy in dance. There's so much therapy in music. Art and dance and music are opportunities for you not only to have normal type of activities, it's also an opportunity for them to express themselves through art, express themselves through dance, express themselves through music. Playing on a city recreational sports team is another opportunity for normalcy. Perhaps some of the youth in your home might want to be in scouts or maybe youth groups. These are types of opportunities for normalcy. Swimming, riding bikes, outside playing, these are normalcy. Maybe at one of the birthday events for one of the youth in foster care at the home, perhaps you want to have a bouncy home brought to the house. It might not be much fun for you, but what a normal type of play it might be for the youth you're working with. We mentioned summer camp activities, perhaps LGBTQ events as well. Those youth in foster care who might identify as something different, well, that might be an opportunity for normalcy for them. Getting their hair cut their own style and dressing the way they want to dress or wearing the type of clothing. These could be opportunities for normalcy. Of course, all of these activities, all of these opportunities need to be discussed with the supervisor and need to be acceptable with the home's requirements. Driver's license. 16 years of age is a magical number for millions of youth across the United States. It's the age where they feel they become independent. It's the age where they can be rewarded with a driver's license. Many youth in foster care do not have that opportunity, perhaps due to regulations. We talked earlier about, for many years, child welfare programs were not allowing youth to have normal type of activities for fear of many types of outcomes. Now, many agencies are encouraging youth to get a driver's license because it shows them so many different skills and it's good for normalcy, if you will. Other activities include school sports, football, basketball, wrestling, softball, basketball, school clubs, we mentioned those as well, field trips, allowing the youth in the home to go on any type of field trip at school. Be a wonderful opportunity. Marching band, music classes, after school activities, these are all opportunities for normalcy. Now, when it comes to normalcy, you, as one who works with youth in foster care, need to be prepared for a few things. To begin with, you need to be prepared for the youth's biological family members, their mothers or fathers or grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever it might be. They might object. They might say no to any type of normal activities that you and your fellow staff members might wish to have for the home for these youth. These objections might be because of the parents might be concerned about the child's safety, maybe because of religious beliefs. Maybe the parents feel these activities are not important. They might feel that there are other activities that children should partake in instead. So be prepared to keep the parents up to date on what the teen is doing. Be prepared to let the parents know that you, as someone who works with their child, are doing everything that you can to ensure not only the child is safe, but they're living a normal lifestyle. Many times, birth parents of the youth that you're working with are hoping that the child is living a normal lifestyle, not the lifestyle they foster kid, that label, but they're hoping that the youth, their own children, are living a normal type of lifestyle. It is important for you and your home to not only let the family know, but remind them on a consistent basis that you're doing everything possible to ensure that that child lives a normal type of lifestyle. They're developing those important living skills, social skills, work skills. And when possible and when appropriate, get their approval. Get their approval to go to the dance, to get the driver license, to take art lessons, to take dance. Youth in foster care truly want to live a normal type of lifestyle. They don't want to be placed in a foster care environment. It's not normal. They don't want the label of foster kid. It's not normal. They don't want all the restrictions placed upon them because they're living in an environment, a home that they have no decision in and no control of. That's not normal. Youth in foster care want a normal type of lifestyle. They want to do what they see their friends are doing on TV. They want to do what they see their friends are doing at school. They want to do what they see their friends are doing in magazines and newspapers. They want to do all the stuff that they're seeing other kids their age doing when they're at the movie theaters, when they're watching TV, when they're reading a magazine, when they're talking to their friends at school. They want that. And those skills are important for them. So, as one who works with youth in foster care, seek out opportunities on a day-to-day basis for them to have that type of normal activity, the type of normal lifestyle. Encourage them to cook. Encourage them to work in the garden. Encourage them to go play basketball. Encourage them to sit down and play some cards or board game. Encourage them to get a job. Encourage them to try out for sports or join school activities and extracurricular clubs. Not only does this help them build skills, it's important for their well-being, their mental health, and for their future. Hey, foster parenting is tough. Caring for children and youth in foster care is also very challenging and difficult as well. If you're looking for a little bit of wisdom and some inspiring words, check out the little book of Foster Care Wisdom, 365 Days of Inspiration and Encouragement for Foster Care Families. Not only is it for foster parents, it's for everyone who works with youth in foster care. We have that book and many best-selling books here available for you at the Foster Care Institute. For much more on this and so much more, visit the Foster Care Institute at drjohndegarmofostercare.com. If you're on Facebook, make sure you follow me, Dr. John DeGarmo, the Foster Care Institute. Check out my page, follow me. Follow me on Twitter for much more on all things foster care. If you have questions about this email or anything else that I can be of help to you, please email me at drjohndegarmo@gmail.com. The job you have, it's not a normal type of job. You know that. Your friends and family members may not understand what you do. It's not normal to them. It's not a normal type of job. At the same time, the youth that you're working with, the youth that you're caring for, the youth that you're forming relationships with, they're not leading a normal lifestyle either. They're depending upon you to help them. They're depending upon you to care for them. They're depending upon you to teach them important skills. And you can do all of that through normalcy. So thank you. Thank you not only for watching this training webinar, but thank you for working, caring for, and helping our youth in crisis, our youth in foster care. For the Foster Care Institute, I'm Dr. John DeGarmo.